Welcome back. I am Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you. This is a dad advice podcast. Less advice, more support, talking about my experience as a dad, Derek of one, Derek's experience as a dad to many, and all the things that we have succeeded at and failed at, and some of your experiences and things that you've won or lost in parenting.
I mean, everything's a win in parenting as long as you move forward, right? Like, we learn as our kids learn. Like,
For sure. I think that some things do get lost in parenting, and we'll probably have a whole episode on loss of autonomy, loss of intimacy. There's a lot of things that change during parenting.
I
And
was going more
some of
lighthearted,
those
but you're
some of
not
those
wrong.
changes could be loss.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But that's a future episode. We're gonna keep it lighthearted this episode, and we're gonna discuss Halloween. Like,
Yeah.
for some
Happy
reason,
Halloween, everyone.
exactly, because by the time this posts, it will be Halloween. Halloween is a new, and I hate to say it, Halloween's a new Christmas. Everybody loves it.
I
I
thought you were about to say Halloween's a new holiday, and I was like, no, no, Boomer Derek. Halloween's been around for a while.
Damn it, I am a boomer. No, everybody loves Halloween. I'm gonna make a joke here. Like, it's because as millennials, like, we're all just depressed people, and Halloween kind of fits our mentality. But like, um, I'm a Christmas guy. I will always be a Christmas guy, but I'm not gonna shut on people who love Halloween. But we're gonna discuss all kinds of different topics. What we all do for Halloween. What do we instill in our children? Dad tax. Show that ball you showed me before we started recording
Oh,
here.
I'm a scumbag, and I bought a bag of Halloween candy and picked out all of my favorite extreme sour warheads and put them in a bowl in my office so that they're not going out to trick or treaters. Those are all for me.
I love warheads. I'm actually very tempted to. I don't know if you've seen it. The world's most sour candy.
I have
I don't.
not.
I don't
I've
know
just
if you.
always assumed it's sour warheads because they are my childhood's most sour, horrible thing.
I go for those too, but they're not as sour as they once were. But I guess I see it on TikTok every so often, or Facebook Reels, or whatever you want to call them these days. And I want to try it one day. Like, I want to see what the world's most sour candy actually is.
Just go out and bite a lemon, man. Like, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
What? Bite a lemon? What am I, a child? But yeah. What do you, and I mean, you and your family aren't going to do a whole lot. Your daughter's still young. So
Yeah,
the
so
spirit of Halloween is lost on her.
the spirit of Halloween is not lost on her. She is a spoopy baby for sure. And by that I mean she likes bats and skeletons, and we've taught her that like scary monsters in TV shows and stuff are funny. So she'll see like a giant snake or a big scary spider or something and just laugh and laugh and laugh. And like, man, what a privilege it is to live in a world where I can train those survival instincts out of my child and not have to worry about her actually seeing a giant snake. We live in Arizona. I should probably teach her to be afraid of snakes. But
You probably should.
but yeah, my daughter Alana is 18 months old, so we're not quite at the going door to door trick or treating phase yet. We definitely could, but it just gets complicated because that's a lot of the reality of that is a lot of me carrying my daughter through the neighborhood, and that just sounds exhausting. So what we did last year, and I mean obviously she was 7 or 8 months old for Halloween last year, so she was very small. And what we're planning on doing this year is we live in a cul-de-sac, and we'll set up a table with some decorations at the end of our driveway. And our neighbors do the same thing, and we'll just hang out. Our neighbors have a couple of young kids too, and so we'll just hang out, and we'll sit in the driveway and drink and eat candy and maybe throw up a movie on the projector on the garage
Oh, that's
or
nice.
something. And just all of the trick-or-treaters who come by. It's also nice because I have a very big dog who hates doorbells, and so Halloween is his least favorite night if people are coming to the door constantly. And he's a giant Great Pyrenees, so he barks and scares a lot of the small children, which is why we took to last year having it be at the end of the driveway, so kids don't have to come up. And I just go inside every once in a while and give him a treat or a bone and tell him he's a good boy for scaring away the boogeymen in the garage, and then go back out to drinking beers and handing out candy.
Nice. I mean, it's simple. So do you do trunk or treat? I know that's a bit, and I say this because I guess I've became more of an adult the past few years. Trunk or treat has become a more popular thing. Is that something you do?
I grew up, so without going too deep into it, I grew up in a Christian household, and so we didn't celebrate Halloween. Definitely didn't celebrate Halloween because it was a bad holiday. But we liked dressing up in silly outfits and getting candy and having fun with people, all that Halloween is. And so we had like a harvest festival where we would trunk or treat at the church. And I think that I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I like to call a spade, and I feel like that we're not celebrating Halloween kind of turned me off to trunk or treating. But I think if I remove my experience from it, I like the idea of just having everybody parked and having a bunch of candy. It takes walking through the whole neighborhood and shrinks it down to a smaller scale.
I want to say like if I was a child, I would not enjoy it because part of it is walking around with your friends, right? And you're showing everybody your costume and you're meeting other people and seeing their costume. Like trunk or treat, your average parking lot. You're going to a Walmart, which most of them are in church parking lots. Like they're not big old parking lots. You kind of you run through it in 30, 45 minutes and then it's done.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that? And it's usually what? Late afternoon, early evening. That's not
And
cool.
some of them have games and that sort of thing. But it feels to me every time I've seen a trunk or treat in my adult life, it just seems like a kind of lame tailgate party to me. Like
And nobody's drinking. So
exactly, yeah, it's a sober tailgate party, which I mean, if that's your thing, good for you, but it's not my thing.
yeah, no, I mean I've been to a couple trunk or treats and I just not a fan, but also as an adult, like we live in one of those neighborhoods that people come to our neighborhoods and trick or treat
Because you
to the
give away
point
those full size Snickers bars.
I don't, but there are houses on the street that do. We put candy out and we walk around the neighborhood with our kids. I'm not a people person. I hate large crowds. So when all the people show up and everybody's walking around, like my anxiety goes through the roof, and I'm just like head on a swivel. I cannot enjoy my children in their costumes. Even though last year we were a family of ketchup because that's what my son wanted to be was ketchup.
Awesome.
And I had to get my wife to show you a picture of it. Like it's I think I might have recently thrown it was a sweatshirt with the Heinz logo on it, and then and my son he looked like those little tear ketchup packets.
Nice.
It was fantastic. And it's funny because people are like, oh, you're ketchup, like that's hilarious, and then it's for the kids, and I keep telling myself it's for the kids, and I know there's probably a few parents out there that are the same way. Like you hate groups of people, you hate going around, you hate I'm tired, carry my candy, carry me, I'm bored, I want to go home, I want to play Xbox. Like
and then
but
whatever your kid is saying on top of what you're saying as you're walking around with your wife, right?
yeah, and you're just like it's like I want to go play Xbox too. I'm just kidding. But and our neighborhood is confusing. Like there's so many like streets that branch off from the main roads that you're just like, do we go down the street? Do we not go down the street? Do you see anything down the street to make it worth it? People are driving around in their vans, blasting music with the doors open. And it's a whole thing. And it's like, it's too much, but the kids love it. We were going to get, Noah has a little, those little remote control Jeeps they sit in.
Yeah.
We were going to put him in his own, and we were going to put Ivy in her own.
Okay.
And decorate them as Paw Patrol Jeeps.
Nice.
But life has taken a different turn, and I don't know what I think we're still doing Paw Patrol theme, but I don't think the Jeeps are involved. But it's still fun, especially when you get home and like I mentioned, the dad tax, like or mom tax, because like my wife is huge into chocolate, like so she'll be like, oh, she's gonna take the Reese's, she's gonna take the I know she's big into Reese's. It's just kind of M&Ms, whatever else like that. And I'm like you, like give
Yeah,
me
give
the
me the gummy candies,
warheads.
give me the sour. Yeah.
Yeah, like, or I'm just like, you don't need any of this.
My daughter's 18 months old, so she's not going to be eating much, if any, Halloween candy because she's a baby, she's a toddler. Um, and she'll still, she likes chocolate and she'll eat a gummy worm or whatever. But I've always taken umbrage with the dad tax, because I'm a grown adult who can buy candy whenever I want, and Halloween is the kid equivalent of working for your paycheck. Like they earned that candy, they deserve it, but also give me those warheads.
See, like, and we are the type of parents that like space the candy out. Like, don't don't eat all of it in one night, and don't have we tell our oldest son, like, take a pillowcase,
Yeah.
like, it, get as much candy as you can, enjoy the night.
Go crazy.
um but like, we say, okay, we're going to keep the candy in the kitchen so that we can make sure that you are not just your entire diet for the next 2 months till Christmas time is not just purely candy.
Yeah.
um
Now, are you familiar with the concept of a switch witch?
I am not.
This was introduced to me earlier this week, and the rage I felt, Derek. So the switch witch comes overnight and takes your candy away and switches it for a present. So you went trick or treating and you got this big bag of candy, and you make a deal with the Switch Witch, and instead of the Switch Witch, you get a Paw Patrol Jeep or a Bluey Playhouse. And the rage that I felt knowing that I'm going to be giving candy to children who are trick or treating at my house, that is going to be, frankly, probably thrown away by parents who don't believe in candy consumption, and they're going to be bought a toy for that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, hard work that they did. Um, I it's wild to me, the whole concept. And like, hey, if you do this, okay, a little bit of judgment. I was gonna say no judgment because there's no bad way to parent, but like, I just, why take this glorious perfect thing that is teaching kids about the magic of getting candy, and turn it into this weird capitalist consumer thing where you then buy yourself a toy with the candy that you wanted instead.
I guess, and anybody watching this, like, the look on my face is like, why? Because toys are expensive. Like, I
Yeah.
would rather you eat the damn candy. Like, I'm not gonna go out and spend a few $100s so you don't eat this candy.
Well, and I'm sure it's the sugar-free households where they don't want to stop their kids from trick-or-treating, but they don't want their kids to load up on crazy high levels of way processed sugar, because that's all Halloween candy is. It's just crazy processed sugar. Um, and I don't know, man. I heard about it from a friend, and I was like, that frustrates. Like, I was mad. Like, I was
You
frankly, I was
eat my
I
candy.
was I was I was irrationally upset about it when I heard about it. But like, it kills me, because, and part of it is because I hate capitalism just as a whole, and we could go down a whole rabbit hole there. But like,
We won't do
you're
that.
letting kids use candy as a monetary system to buy toys. Like, kids want candy in the
Yeah.
same way that adults want money, but they want stuff more. So go buy the stuff with the candy that you earned. Man, I was
God,
so
like,
mad.
people come up with the weirdest shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
and you know what? Like, if that's your household, like, that is yours. Like, cool. Like, you
Yeah,
do
and if
you. But like, you, as you see, we don't agree with that. Like, that's
yeah.
unusual.
Well, and it's just, I mean, I'm all about holiday traditions, right? Because like you said, you're a big Christmas guy. I'm also a big Christmas guy. I'm a big holiday guy. Any excuse to celebrate the little happinesses in the world. There's so much down and so much droll, and God forbid you watch the news. Like, the world is a big scary place. It's important to take a step back and appreciate the magic and appreciate those little things and have some fun. And I think that you can do that on a Tuesday, but I think having a holiday to celebrate, having something having a good excuse to make some magic with your family is important. And if that family tradition, if that holiday tradition of the Switch Witch makes your family happy and is a joyous thing for you, who am I to judge? But just know that I am judging.
And I think that's why, like you know, mentioned at the very beginning, I think that's why Halloween is becoming such a big thing. It's like in the depressive world we live in, like you're gonna latch on to those things. And Halloween is dark and scary and scary movie. I can't do scary movies. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Cannot do them. I like thrillers. I can't do scary. Like
I just don't like to. I don't see the appeal in scary movies.
uh,
I love
I'm
watching scary movies with groups of people as comedies, right? So like me and you and our wives and a couple of friends drinking beers and watching Friday the 13th or Saw and making fun of how ridiculous and bad it is.
okay. I'm with you on
Great
that
time.
one.
Totally great time. But I cannot take horror movies seriously. And I apologize to anybody out there who's watching who's a big horror file. I'm sure there's something that I am passionate about that you think is ridiculous. I'm sure there are a lot of things. I have a lot of ridiculous hobbies.
I
Between
mean,
Derek and I, if you knew what we spend our money on, you'd think that we're just absolutely ridiculous people because we are.
yeah. I know my wife is a huge scary movie person, and she doesn't watch scary movies by herself, which a lot of people won't. But I won't watch them because, for one, like, why do I want to do that to myself? You know, like,
Well, you're a person with pretty severe anxiety. The world is scary enough just walking down the street.
yeah. Now I just want jump scares. Paranormal Activity, the first one. Let me tell you, no. Like I watched that. I watched. I think how many are there? Like 10 of them.
I
Like
don't even know.
I think I watched like 3 or 4 of them, and then, you know, to the point it got ridiculous. But it was like, why do I keep watching these? Like they're
Yeah.
terrible movies, and they scare the shit out of me. I don't know, but to
I
each their
watched
own.
I watched the first Paranormal Activity. Fun, terrible pre-dad story. I watched the first Paranormal Activity, and then as a joke, uh, grabbed my girlfriend at the time by the ankles and drug her out of the bed the way that the ghost does to the person in the movie in the middle of the night to prank her. And we broke up the next morning, and I never watched another paranormal movie again. Life lessons from Goody. If you
Yeah.
think it's funny, you're probably wrong.
I mean, it's funny now, but like,
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's funny to me that she could still have PTSD from that
she
like
probably does. Like,
moment. Like, I have no idea. I could have ruined that girl.
she probably
Like,
straps herself to the bed every night
yeah,
now.
sleeps with machete and 2 shotguns.
Something.
Because that helps
But
with ghosts, right?
yeah, exactly. You know, and speaking of like, I'm curious, like, do people, okay, so like we all have Thanksgiving traditions, we all have Christmas traditions. Do people have Halloween traditions? Do they, I know some people from October 1st to Halloween, I'm assuming, watch scary movies. Are there family Halloween traditions? Like, is that a thing? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
because
totally.
we just trick or treat, and you know, the
So like,
31st is the
I have a group of friends who actually during COVID, when the lockdowns were happening and video calls and teleconferences and stuff got more popular. Um, we started watching Hocus Pocus together. We would all get together and video chat because we all live in different states and we grew up together, but now we've spread across the country and we'd all get together and watch Hocus Pocus and video chat, and we eat popcorn and make fun of the movie and not really watch the movie. And that has become a tradition for us. I know my parents actually there, and I'm kind of trying to emulate it with what we're slowly starting to do as we build this community in the neighborhood that we're in now. But the house that I grew up in, that my parents still live in, is in a cul-de-sac. And it's a neighborhood that still now has a ton of kids. They live like right up the road from an elementary school. And so there's always a bunch of school age kids in that neighborhood. And everybody, all of the families, there's 5 houses in the cul-de-sac. And everybody, I think, gosh, must have been like 10 years ago or so now. They were all saying like nobody trick-or-treats in the cul-de-sac, right? They just kind of like skip over that because they don't want the extra walk of going in the circle or something. I don't know. So they, like, as a community, the 5 houses in the cul-de-sac decided to like make a party out of it. So they all set up in their driveways with like tables at the end of their driveway with candy on it. But then they'll also have like bonfires out, and they'll play music, and they'll have like a dance floor, and like just all kinds of like every, and all of the parents, or homeowners, I guess, everybody who
Yeah.
lives in those houses, they have a big potluck. And so they'll all bring like it's BYOB, so everybody will have beer, and they'll cook dinner, but they'll cook enough for the whole neighborhood. And so they have food, and like when the families are coming by, if somebody's hungry, they can grab a sandwich, or if the parents want to grab a beer or something. I'm sure they're probably definitely not handing out alcohol because of open container laws and things. But
So
and
they
it's,
can drink it when they get home, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, of course, of course, of course. But yeah, and that's kind of become my parents' family tradition now, and I think that's awesome. It's something
Yeah, I
that,
do
like I
like
said,
that.
I'm trying to emulate. I our neighbors moved in last year, and they have young kids, and we kind of started that vibe last year of like, hey, like let's be Halloween buddies. Let's hang out, and because walking around, especially kind of like you said, our neighborhood is it's not just a grid or anything. It's crazy, and it's got all of these offshoots and everything, and it's a like golf community, so there are a lot of retired people who don't
Mm.
participate in the holiday. So just kind of creating our own little microcosm of fun and Halloween spookiness in the cul-de-sac is it's fun.
No, I mean, I like that. Like, I'm gonna steal that idea
Yeah,
eventually.
man.
Um, so I guess my next question is, what is the weirdest thing you have ever gotten? I mean, I guess you didn't trick or treat, but like, what's the weirdest thing that you had one of your neighbors has given away, I guess?
Oh, I totally did trick or treat as a kid. We don't celebrate Halloween lasted about as long as my sister and I put up with it, and then we were like, but everybody else does, so we are too. Um, I've gotten some weird. I remember there was definitely one year when I was a kid where like the hippie house up the road was handing out like, those like mini hummus and pretzel cups.
Yeah, are those expensive?
Yeah, but they were handing out those instead of candy to like promote good health. Um, and that was probably the strangest and saddest thing I've ever gotten trick or treating. Um, because what's the point of like, hey, I'm all about healthy eating. We had our nutritional episode where Derek and I bashed on potato chips and then talked about how veggie straws, which are just potato chips, are life. Like, I'm
But
all
like,
about healthy food. Halloween is not the night to promote healthy
no,
eating with
it's
kids.
really
Like,
not. Like
it's not
you
it's
have
not
this
the
you
spirit
have
of the
this
holiday, my
my
guys.
hands don't fit in the camera. You have this pillowcase full of food or full of candy
Yeah.
and a little hummus cup. Like
Yeah.
I'm not digging
And
down for that hummus cup.
and
Like
and also just like what are you hoping to accomplish there? Because if you give my kid a hummus cup and the guy next to you gives them a caramel apple, they're not going to reach for that hummus cup. They're gonna live on that caramel apple until the hummus rots and then throw it away.
yeah, because like there's a lot of people for one who don't even like hummus. Like what the parent? Oh, dad tags hummus. Hell yeah! No, I'm looking
I
at
might
that
I could go for
Snickers.
some hummus, but
Yeah, but if you're looking at some warheads, a handful of warheads, or a
that's fair.
hummus cup, which one are you going to choose?
Yeah,
No, so
warheads all day.
so
What
down
about you?
the reason I asked, I didn't go trick or treating as a kid. Long, long story, but we won't get into that. But there is a house in our neighborhood that we call the ramen house. I thought the first year they were just like threw random shit in their fucking bucket. No, 2 years running, and we're about to find out for the third year. Your packets of ramen. Like they ask you, do you want chicken or beef? They have candy too, but they have packets of
Great.
ramen to see if you want it. And I'm like, I can I have some? Like, I'm
That's awesome.
hungry. And just and so when we would if we we used to walk the neighborhood and like, oh hey, look, there's the ramen house, and like, oh, I can't wait until they set up some Halloween. Like that is the one street that like does it big, like the little cul-de-sac on that street. But what makes you think ramen? Do kids eat ramen anymore?
I don't know, man. I think some people just like to use Halloween as a social experiment. I remember a couple of years ago, a friend of mine dressed up. He's an army ranger, and he wore his fatigues, but instead of his name tag, he just had a thing that said life. And in his bucket of candy, he had a couple of lemons, so that life could give you lemons. And more like he never offered anybody anything, right? He just showed them the bucket and said, help yourself. And he said, like, more kids than not asked if they could have the lemon and would take the lemon instead of the candy. And I think it's just the novelty of it, right? That, like, yeah, I'm gonna get candy from every house, but how many houses are gonna give me a lemon? How many houses are gonna give me ramen? Like, so hey, maybe my hummus neighbors were onto something.
maybe they were like, but I like the idea of the food. Like, let me tell you, somebody's like, hey, I got, I'm grilling some hot dogs. Like, I'm hungry. Give me one of them hot dogs. Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but nobody ever thinks about the parents. Like, we're all walking around with our kids. What are you going to offer? But for one, like I said, I'm not a huge sweets person. Like, I'm a spicy person, spicy and sour. Like, if you want to give me a beer for later, wink, wink. Like, I'll take one. If you want to offer me a hot dog, like, or a hamburger, like,
I remember in college, I set up I was living in an apartment in a college town. So, like, we weren't getting a lot of kids anyway, which is why we actually did it. But we set up our trick or treat, and we had a bucket of candy and a bucket of, like, airline single alcohol bottles. And
shooters.
so yeah, just the little 1 ounce. I think they were like, it was a variety pack of, like, Jack Daniels, Smirnoff, and there's probably like a Bombay gin or something in there. But, like, so when families would come by, it'd be like, oh, kids, have some candy. Hey, adults, you want some candy? And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And as somebody who is going to be trick-or-treating with a child soon, I would thoroughly enjoy to be on the receiving end of that.
Exactly. Like, I ran into my neighbor last year, and he had a couple beers in his backpack. He's like, hey, you want a beer? And I was like, yes, please, thank you.
I like it.
You're a lifesaver.
I'll remember, if you ever come through our neighborhood, 2,000 miles away, to trick or treat, I'll make sure to have some, like, a grab bag with, like, jalapenos and habaneros and some Sonoran peppers, so your kid can get some candy and you can get some dad fuel.
That's right. That Ghost X, like, not trying to veer this off of Halloween, but Ghost X is the new spiciest pepper ever.
Whew. At a certain point, doesn't it just become too hot? Like,
Yeah.
not like too hot to handle, but, like, I think once you hit, like, there's a threshold, right? And for some people, it's like jalapenos, but, like, okay, Ghost X is, I don't know, 90,000 Scovilles hotter than a normal
It's like
ghost pepper.
millions,
But, like,
millions hotter.
Can you actually tell the difference between those two? Or once you hit painfully hot, does the Scoville unit matter? It's like in Arizona, after the temperature hits 115 degrees, I don't care whether it's 115 or 125, it's just too hot. Like,
it's horrible. I don't want to be
it's just bad. I feel like peppers are the same way. Like, they keep getting hotter and hotter, but not meaningfully.
Yeah, it's just at that point, it's just like bragging rights. But
yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
World's hottest pepper. You take a bite and it explodes tear gas all over your whole household.
Yes.
No, I think no, go ahead.
No, what's my thing is, like, my neighborhood, poorly lit. Like, there is a street light, like, every 100 yards on the other side of the street, and it makes Halloween miserable. Like, you got to think, you're packing hundreds of people, because obviously I'm not counting these people, on a poorly lit street, and you're trying to say, hey, is that my kid? Is that my kid? What was my kid wearing? Like, obviously, you know what your kid's wearing, but, like, you go to the costume store, show your Iron Man mask there. Like,
oh, my beautiful,
yeah, your great Halloween costume here. Yeah,
my great Halloween costume.
When every kid's wearing that and the same Spirit Halloween Iron Man thing, like, but you don't want to be carrying around a flashlight, because you're going to be that parent. Like, Mom, quit staring at me, quit flashing the light in my eyes.
I carry a flashlight every day anyway, so I have no qualms about being that dad.
Are you talking about your phone or an actual flashlight?
No, I carry an actual flashlight. Your phone dies if you use your flashlight for more than, like, 2 seconds. Like, literally right now.
Jesus Christ. You're inside your own house.
Yeah, I have a flashlight on me all the time. I'm
The
wearing
sun's
pants.
out,
There's a flashlight.
but
Sun's
in
out.
case the
Sun's out. Buns out. You know.
sun's out, the power goes
Do you have
out,
any idea?
flashlight.
Okay, do you have any idea how many times I go out during the day and like something rolls under a desk, or I need to check something under the hood of a car, or like, dude, carry people,
What?
dads everywhere are lambasting you right now. Carry a
I don't.
flashlight for like 20 minutes and you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's wildly useful. I'm
No,
ashamed of you that you don't.
no,
That's
no. You
basic.
know what? No, you
This
shut your
is
mouth.
this is basic. We're oh man, we're gonna go full off the spectrum, and we're gonna do like an everyday carry episode of this show where I just unload my pockets and you tell me how ridiculous I am, and I
For
tell you
one,
how poorly prepared you are.
look. Okay, so if it rolls under the couch, I obviously don't need it for very long. Like, I found it. Done. Oh, I'm looking under
Oops, my battery's dead.
my
Oh
my
no,
better.
10. Oh no, 10 minutes later, I need to call 911 because something bad happened. Oh no, I can't because I used my cell phone to look under a chair.
What the
Man,
oh,
we're going off rail. I'm gonna put a pin in this. We are going to have this conversation
yeah, we
on
will.
air at a future episode because this will be an hour.
Oh man, but you know,
But you're right. I think there's and that's Halloween is such a weird holiday, right? Because
it really is.
like we and I disagree with a lot of it, and we can go into my feelings on this, but like so many parents spend 364 days a year telling their kids not to talk to strangers, not to run off on their own, and not to take candy from people they don't know. And then one day a year saying, go out into the neighborhood and go get candy from everybody. Like,
Yeah, bunch of strangers
yeah,
go ask
back
them
in
for candies.
yeah, back in the 60s when you knew every house on your block, or like maybe if you live in a small town, I'm sure there are still places where people know all of their neighbors. I know maybe 5 house radius of where I live. And I think that's a lot for the modern world. Most people probably don't even know that. Um, it's a very different dynamic to send your kids out and just say, go get, candy from whoever, right? But I mean, kids are fine, right? Like,
And so I know there's also in parents' defense, there's trackers on kids' phone. Every phone, like you can share your location, or you can set phones up. And I think that gives parents a peace of mind.
yeah,
A no, not a peace of mind. It gives them peace of mind. I knew that didn't sound right. Um, but also like parents, like we, yes, our children are smaller, but we go with our children, and when they get older, like we will still go with our children.
well, and I think so. I mean, it goes into my. I am not one of those people who is spending those 364 days a year teaching my kid not to talk to strangers. There's a lot of research on why the idea of teaching kids stranger danger is outdated and inaccurate. And it mostly boils down to the fact that most people aren't out to hurt your kids. 90% of harm that comes to children comes from family members and people that you know. That means that 10% of people in the world or 10% of not 10% of people in the world. Let's clear that up.
Yeah,
10% of
please.
the children that are harmed or abducted are having that experience through a stranger. So teaching your kids stranger danger is just a really good way to give your kids anxiety about meeting new people, right?
Mhm.
Because if you teach your kids that every stranger is a potential threat, that creates a really scary world where if you teach your kids that strangers are just friends that you don't know yet, and teach your kids how to identify strange things, not
Yes.
strangers, I think that's really important because we take our daughter to the children's museum, and the people who work there are awesome and they want to play with all the kids, right? If you teach your kid not to play with strangers, they're not going to get to have as much fun because those people know all the cool games that you can play in the children's museum. They know all the fun places to go, and they're not out to hurt your kid. It's their job to help your kid have fun. So teaching your child that all strangers are bad or all strangers are scary is just going to give them anxiety about meeting people. Whereas if you teach your kid to identify uncomfortable behavior, right? Uh, Adults who ask you to keep secrets, strange. Adults who touch you, even if it's not inappropriate, but like touch you on your shoulder or put an arm around you, red flag. If anybody takes a picture of you without your consent, red flag. Like these are the things that I'm teaching my kid. Not every person that you meet is out there to hurt you, because that's an outdated philosophy that stems from 1960s fear mongering. And I'm sure it serves some people well, but the overwhelming amount of research shows that like I said, most of the things that we're teaching kids to be afraid of strangers for, unfortunately, don't come from strangers. They come, that call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, I mean and it's funny though, because funny, air quotes. It's we obviously we grew up in the generation, and any dads listening probably grew up in the generation that, yeah, we were all taught that. And then now, hey, you want to go to the bar? Hey, you're at the bar, you want to go home? Who do you call? A complete fucking stranger.
Yeah. Oh, Uber.
Like,
100%.
yeah.
I thought you were asking me, and I was like, I don't know, like 6 friends who I have, my wife who like,
no. I mean, you have people, but like back
yeah,
in the day, I didn't have people, so I called Ubers, and I got in the
of
cars, or
course.
I got in strangers' cars, like, and yes, like that is why when I walk down the street, like I'm like, everybody's out to hurt me, everybody's out to hurt my children, like that kind of thing. And like, am I a successful member of society? Yeah, we'll say it was successful. Like, um,
You're a
but yeah,
functioning human being. You're doing
yeah,
well.
I function well enough. But like, I don't want that for my children. I want them to be like, hey, I can trust people, but I also know what to look for, that to be like, okay, maybe you're not the person I want to associate with. So I think that's great advice, honestly. Um, and if your kids start saying, hey, I talked to this person, you're like, hey, introduce me, and they're like, then maybe you should be like, okay, let me step in anyways, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, and that's one of those things, like I said, big asked gifts, right? And that I think that is kind of a challenging part of Halloween, is if a random guy came up to my daughter on the street and offered her candy, I would want her to turn 180 degrees and run and get me, except on Halloween, because that's what everybody is doing. Like, right?
And
It's such a weird thing about the holiday, and maybe that's some of the magic of it, right? Is that we get to put that rule aside and get candy from strangers on Halloween.
but I think it's also like a lot of, and I don't want to say it's in our neighborhood, because like I mentioned earlier, is people come to my neighborhood to trick or treat. There's a neighborhood in your general area, I won't tell what area it is, um but they do it big on Halloween. Like I was there back when I lived in Arizona, and they go crazy for the holidays. Like,
Yeah,
but you're like, it's you're going to someone's household, and not someone in making a slight joke here, in a white van offering free candy. Like, and
yeah.
so you're asking for it, and you're not being offered it, I guess. But that still doesn't make it okay. I don't know where I
No,
was
and
going with that, but
it does, and I think that's a really good point. That's really well put. That you're going out asking, if to
asking
use
in
the
a
same
safe asking in a safe environment.
example that I did, if my kid walked into a hotel lobby and asked the front desk clerk if they had any candy they could have, and the front desk clerk gave them a lollipop, I think that would be a perfectly fine
Mhm.
interaction. Uh, I had never considered that. It's the offer. It's the offering that makes it weird. And again, that situationally is obviously dependent as well. There's a big difference between, hey, do you want this lollipop coming from a panel van, and hey, do you want this lollipop coming from a dentist?
Yeah, like when you get your
So I have always
haircut,
thought
like,
it's weird that dentists hand out candy. That seems kind of
because they want to create
counterproductive.
more customers. See,
Oh, making business. I see.
returning customers. Which, yeah, like and I think it's the environment more than anything, and what we tell our children to be safe in. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to teach my children to go ask every stranger on the street, "Can I have some candy? Do you have any candy? You have games on your phone?" That's what I'm thinking. Like, can I have some candy?
It
Like,
is. I will say consistently for I will generously say 5 to 7 days after Halloween, every kid I bump into in Safeway or whatever when I'm out in public, there's a 50-50 chance of whether or not they ask me for candy, and their parents say, no, remember, that was just a one-time thing. Like, it
yeah, I've
happens
never had
all the
that.
time, man.
That would be hilarious if that happened to me. It's never happened.
You don't
But
go out of the house though.
I'm sure I go grocery shopping every so often.
There you go.
With the wife. She goes grocery shopping and I join her.
Yeah. That's
um,
why they have those little seats in the cart so you can put your husband in.
exactly. See, I knew they were thinking of me. Another thing I wanted to bring up because it was drilled into our heads as children, and you see those Facebook memes. They're like, "Oh, you got to check the candy for drugs," but then the Facebook memes like, "Drugs are too expensive. Nobody's giving your kids
Yeah,
free
man, I want
drugs."
to
Like,
know the neighborhood where somebody is putting ecstasy, like handing out ecstasy to children, because like I'm not saying that I would go for any particular reason, but if they're handing out drugs, that's a dope neighborhood. No pun intended. Like,
I was like, "Wait."
nobody nobody is handing out nobody is sneaking ecstasy into your kids' Skittles. Drugs are expensive, and what is the return on investment there for those people? Like, there's
Yeah,
no
like,
way.
what are you going to go to Elon Musk's neighborhood where they have way too much fucking money? They're still not going to give drugs to your kids. Like, has it happened? Yes, it might have happened. And that's where, like you said before, the fear mongering may have come from. But like, nobody is giving away free drugs. Nobody.
Yeah.
I
And I
mean,
mean, that is something, I think it's a carryover from when we were kids. Is you, you don't see a lot of unpackaged food, if you will, for Halloween, right? Like, I remember
correct.
when I was a kid getting like popcorn balls and like cupcakes and that kind of stuff at a few different houses. And you don't really see that anymore. Everything is sealed, right? You get Twizzlers, you get Snickers bars, you get man, Hershey's sponsor us. You live rent free in my brain. But like, and I think there is an element to that of, I feel like if somebody is going to drug or poison kids, they're gonna do it in a batch way with like arsenic or something cheap, like, and even that, the odds of it, again, astronomically small, of something like that happening. But that threat has just kind of been removed in this current generation, because you just, like I said, you don't really see that. You don't see
And
people handing out loose baked goods.
no, and the other thing is like Halloween or not Halloween. If I open a bag of candy, let's say a bag of Snickers, like, and one of the little fun size Snickers isn't, fully sealed, I'm gonna throw it away. I don't
Yeah.
care. Like, so if I dump out my kid's candy and I see that, oh, this isn't sealed properly, I'm gonna throw it away regardless, because who knows what has gotten into that candy from
And
just existing within the realm of other candies of the world.
yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say, even if it wasn't poisoned by some child murderer, it's just been bumping around in a dirty pillowcase all night, and you probably don't want to eat that.
exactly. So like, and when you go to, like, yes, do have people tampered with stuff? Possibly. Nobody's giving away drugs. Always, yes, check the candy. Look at it. Does it look out of place? Is there a tamper evident anything? Like, just be smart about it. But there's no drugs. As much as adults don't wish that there was or not. Like,
For our podcast listeners, Derek is winking a bunch.
twice. It was just twice. um
No, totally.
and it was just,
So
it's one of those things that I wanted to bring up because we all check for, and we see it every single year on Facebook, like, make sure your kids aren't getting any drugs. Like, it's
yeah, the it could be an episode in itself. The fear mongering and propaganda against drug use. And I'm not endorsing drug use. I'm just saying the the fear mongering against drug use is so overwhelmingly unnecessary. It's almost comical.
I would agree. I would agree.
So we said that we were going to keep this episode upbeat and lighthearted, and then we talked about stranger danger and people drugging your children. Nobody's drugging your children. Um, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you remember, either of your own or of your kids?
I got a better question. I mean, that
Okay,
was a great question. What is the worst Halloween candy out there?
worst Halloween candy?
Worst
Uh,
Halloween candy.
Necco wafers. They're just chalk sticks.
That is the second time I've heard. I don't know what the hell those are.
You know what Necco wafers are?
Hold on, let me Google it real quick. Hold on.
Man, you say you grew up poor, but I have questions. Uh,
How do you spell that?
Neco, maybe two C's. I don't know. Hey,
Wow, I
Necco, if you're
googled.
out there, tell me how to spell your brand
Oh,
and then
it's
sponsor
two
us.
C's.
Necco, Necco wafers.
These
I
look
just
like
asked I just asked them to sponsor us after I said that their candy was the worst Halloween candy because it's awful chalk
this looks
sticks.
like this looks like god awful
They're
sweet
Tums.
tarts.
They're
Oh,
Tums.
there
That's
we
all they
go.
are. They're Tums. They're chalk. They're except for honestly, I think Tums taste better.
God, these
Sorry
are
to anybody out there, any dad who hates themselves and loves Necco wafers.
who hates themselves.
I have to assume if your favorite candy is Necco wafers that you're just a self-loathing person. What about you, Derek? What's the worst Halloween candy?
I want to say anything licorice for one. Like licorice is just disgusting candy. Like
Like all licorice?
like the
Like
black
red
one.
licorice, black.
No, black licorice.
Oh, you specifically mean black licorice. Okay.
Yeah, like well because because people say that red vines, Twizzlers are red licorice, but not so much. It's just red flavored gel,
Well,
red colored gel.
yeah. So red vines and Twizzlers are not licorice flavored, but if you ask a kid what licorice is, they're gonna point at red vines more than they're gonna point at blackjack or whatever, because nobody actually makes anise flavored candy anymore. Like black licorice is like
but
true
but
true licorice. Yeah,
no,
no,
and
I
it's
can see that. I I'm personally a fan of licorice, but
I used to be when I was a smaller child. I did not mind it. As I got older, I was like, why the fuck does anybody eat this?
usually it goes the other way around. I think kids hate black licorice. I know I did when I was a kid.
I was a weird kid, so I gotta say the next is like I have a sometimes like for it candy corn. I don't think there's enough of a flavor to make me want to keep going back for it. You hand me a small handful, let's say 10, but okay, this is enjoyable. Anything more than that, like I might as well go take a bite of a damn Yankee candle and call it a fucking day. Like,
See, I if I'm gonna have candy corn, I want it like an elote, not off the cob. I'm a little bit more elevated. Just messing with you. I love candy corn. I think candy corn. Everybody hates on candy corn. It is candle wax, but it's delicious, sugary candle wax. Um,
my wife loves it. I
yeah,
don't know how. Like,
I
and
don't.
and
But the thing is, I candy corn is one of those, and most candy for me is this way, but especially candy corn. It's a portioned food, right? I love 10 pieces of candy corn. I do not love a bag of candy corn in a sitting, right? Whereas warheads, I will eat until my taste buds are gone because I've burnt them all off with the sour, the acidic powder or whatever makes them sour. Candy corn, like I said, like 10
you
pieces
you you you
done.
grab a couple, you get your fingers in there, you grab a couple, you pop in your mouth, are good candy corn. And so I'm assuming so like wafer or not wafers, but again, warheads is your favorite. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sour candy in general. Extreme warheads. I go hard on extreme warheads during Halloween because it's really hard to, at least around me, it's really hard to find them when it's not Halloween. Like I can't just go to the store and buy a bag of warheads. I'm sure I could probably get them on Amazon, but whatever.
That's not the
I'm
same.
not I'm not gonna mail order candy. Um, but yeah, basically anything by the Wonka company. I like gobstoppers. I like all of the sour candies, anything Sweet Tarts has ever made.
Sweet
Um,
tarts are good.
yeah, if I don't really get down on chocolate candy because almost all chocolate candy is milk chocolate, and I don't really care for milk chocolate. If I'm gonna eat chocolate, I want like a dark 70-80% cacao. I want it
There
to
we
be
go.
something that I have to really chew, and probably something that I want to be cold, so it's got a nice crunch to it. um I will absolutely destroy a Reese's peanut butter cup, though. I will say that.
Nope, that's my wife's. Like I said earlier, my wife's favorite. That Reese's. She'll eat those for breakfast. It's not breakfast, but she'll eat those for breakfast.
Heck yeah, man.
But like, not my thing. I gotta say, probably Nerds. The Nerds
Oh
gummy
yeah.
balls. Like, dude, those. I'll fuck those up.
Oh yeah, the basically Nerds Rope bits. Is that what you're
Yes,
talking about? Yes. Oh, it's so good. I love Nerds
love,
Rope. My
love those.
so my wife I don't know, a few years ago, she bought like the you know the box, like when you go to the store and you buy a Nerds rope, the box that you get that out of that has like 50 of them in there. She bought a box. She bought like the store box of those and hid them from me and would like surprise me with them every once in a while. And so like I'd wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go in for an early shift at work, and I'd find one on my steering wheel, and I'd be like, oh, this is the best.
That's a good day.
This is good. This is gonna be a good day because I'm starting off my day. And like realistically, nutritionally, hey, Nerds rope, not the best breakfast, but emotionally, for your heart, best way to start your day.
What upsets me is I think it's the Dungeons and Dragons nerd gummy bits. I don't know what they're actually called. It's the blue bag. Look for the blue bag of them. I think that's what they're called, the Dungeons and Dragons one.
Okay.
Delicious. Probably the best ones. You cannot find them individually as just nerds though. And it's aggravating.
Oh, okay.
Because
okay. So it's like a type of candy, but you can't get just the nerds.
Yeah, which go by that. It will life changing. Go by.
I mean, I love Dungeons and Dragons and I love nerds, so it's not going to be a bad time for me. I'm
now,
sure.
See, I got to look it up now because I don't want to steer you wrong. I don't want to steer anybody wrong that's listening to this. Hold on. Dungeons and Dragons.
Welcome to everybody's favorite part of the podcast. Derek Googles what he's talking about.
Derek Googles because he is making shit up as he goes.
The internet brought to you by Derek Mata.
Exactly. There we go. Let me see. I just had it.
One of these days we'll be professional podcasters, but not this day.
We are talking about gummy candies. It's gummy clusters and a blue bag. Just look that up.
Yeah. I don't need to look that up. It sounds delicious.
It's super delicious. Best nerds out there.
Love it. Yeah, nerds are great. Nerds have been one of my favorite candies since I was a kid and consistently hit.
They're the best. And you always find that one off-colored nerd in your box.
Oh yeah. Like if you're eating a box of pink nerds, there's a purple one in there, or
yeah.
That's why I just get the rainbow nerds. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not concerned where that
I'm not concerned either, but I think it's like, do they do this on purpose? Or what's going on here?
It's that little gift from the universe, like when you order French fries and you find one curly fry in your bag of French fries.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is a good wholesome episode, but to tie it back, like the question you asked, like what favorite Halloween costumes that you have seen, like I feel like everything is store-bought nowadays. Like what homemade costume have you seen? What are your favorite candies? What are the most terrible candies you have ever eaten? Kind of thing. Like we want to hear these things because I think a lot of people would agree with me or you with your Necco wafers, because those look pretty terrible.
I'm gonna buy you some so you can experience how bad they are.
No, please don't. Looking at the picture, my mouth got dry. Yeah, good wholesome episode. We want to hear from dads or moms, anybody who's listening. Tell us about what you got going on Halloween. Let us know the day after what kind of goodies you find. Let us know if you found some drugs, because I still don't think it's a thing that happens.
It's not. Nobody's giving away drugs. Tell us what your Halloween traditions are too. Does your family do for Halloween and leading up to Halloween to celebrate the season?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on another episode. I am Andrew Goody.
And I'm Derek Mata.
And we are proud of you.